Hello, I'm Tammy Fontana with On the Family Counseling Center Private Limited. Today I wanted to answer some questions about sex therapy and how it works and how is it different than from other therapies. So I have a lot of people who have ideas about therapy and how it works and have ideas about sex therapy. And a lot of times these ideas are what gets in the way. People have ideas that they need to be in an office or they need it to look a certain way. And so one of the biggest things of how does sex therapy work is it's just therapy. I am a clinically trained therapist, so most therapists do not get any clinical training in therapy. So they're either practicing outside of their scope of competency or they just avoid it altogether. So as a therapist, I can address the whole person, whether it's dealing with them individually or as a couple. The second thing is that a lot of people view therapy sort of like wedding planning. They have this idea that they get to come in and tell the therapist, how they want it. They want it in an office. They want it this way. They want it that way. And therapy is not like wedding planning. Therapy is more like going to see an oncologist or a specialist. And you would go in and you would tell the oncologist, here's what I'm having. And then the oncologist, the doctor, takes over figuring out the diagnosis, figuring out what's wrong, and then prescribing the treatment. So as a clinician, this is what I'm doing. Unfortunately, with mental health, and it's very common in our language vernacular, a lot of people want to construct their own therapy because they have an idea of what they think it should be or how it works or what they think they have the problem. And unfortunately, this really gets in the way, and we have to spend a lot of time undoing people's ideas of therapy, and that takes a lot of sessions just to get them into this place where I can actually start to help them. So how does sexual therapy work? So again, a lot of people have this idea that it's going to be all doing, it's going to be very graphic, and somehow I need to be in an office and they're going to be touching and it's going to be all about genitals and things like this. And this is not true. I mean, unless you're really, 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 really naive and have absolutely no idea about sex, this is not most of the clients that I'm dealing with. So therapy and sexual therapy is, again, embedded in a relationship. And the most important sex organ is the mind. And so I'm dealing, again, with people's thoughts, their ideas, and beliefs about sex, and then about their feelings, boundaries, and their relationship. So sex is not something that sits outside of the relationship and has rules differently. So a lot of times people are coming to me, they're in a really bad place, they're having a lot of conflict, they don't get along, and they have this idea, again, an idea, that somehow sex will be the solution to all of their relationship problems and or intimacy problems. So if we even break down the word intimacy, intimacy is revealing who I am. And if we don't have good intimacy, we're definitely not going to be able to have sex. So sex is embedded in the quality of the relationship. So a lot of the things I'm having to do in how does sex therapy work is I'm having to start to unpack people's ideas. People have a lot of, unfortunately for them, wrong ideas about sex, about sexuality, about their own sexuality, about sexuality of the opposite member, what requires it, how to communicate about things that they like. So a lot of people need to learn to get better education about sex and sexuality. And I don't mean the mechanical parts, I mean the relational parts. So if we have a lot of hurt in the relationship and a lot of disappointment or any kind of betrayal, we're not going to have sex. So a lot of people think that when we're going to do sex therapy, it's going to be this really graphic thing. But a lot of times what we're talking about is boundaries. Do you do what you say you're going to do? How do we address the fact that you do not keep your word? How do we address the fact that you've hurt me, you've betrayed me? All of these things. And when I'm working with people in the beginning, they're like, why aren't we doing sex therapy? I thought we were supposed to be doing sex therapy. And I tell them, we are doing sex therapy. We are talking about sex. When we talk about how you don't keep your word and you say you're going to come home at 8 o'clock and you come home at 4 a.m., this is us talking about sex, because we are never going to have sex if I'm hurt, I can't trust you, and I feel betrayed by you. We're talking about sex when we talk about how you handle your anger, how we handle money, how we handle emotional regulation. All of these things affect how we relate to one another and our ability to connect, to reveal ourselves, to build trust, in order to have the foundation over here to have sex. So things that have nothing to do with sex affect sex. And once we start getting down with some of these issues and cleaning up underlying hurts in the relationship, betrayals, then we start to clean up beliefs. Then we help people learn how to be comfortable in talking about sexual intimacy, what they like, what they don't like, both about sex and other things in the relationship. So all of these things are talking about sex. So sex has, so when people use the term sexual intimacy, this is intimacy. Intimacy is actually me revealing who I am to you, how things that you do make me feel and request. This is intimacy. We need this in order to be able to have the physical intimacy. And these are not going to be solved by dressing up, bondage, tips and tricks of sexual maneuvers, because you're never going to get to that part if I can't feel safe to talk to you about, hey, when you do this, it makes me feel like that, and then I feel like you have the ability to handle it. So again, to summarize, sex therapy is dealing with ideas, beliefs, and thoughts, not only about sex, but about the relationship, about the other person, about intimacy, emotional regulation, and boundaries. So if you would like to explore how therapy might help you, whether it's for your relationship or improving your sexual relationship or whatever, because the two work together, contact me. The details are in the link below. Thank you and have a great day.